Well, dear Shannon, we're finally here. Thank you for saying yes to coming to talk to us on the UpLevel podcast.
Well, thank you for the invite. I'm so excited that people want to hear what I have to say.
Oh, yeah. And they've already heard a bit about your background and a little bit of context as to how we've met. And we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary, which is super exciting. Yay.
Yeah.
And I just really wanted you to be a part of this season as we explore right relationship, because I know both Rachel and I would say working with you and your colleagues has been an absolute gift. And it's really been an experience of working in right relationship. And so let's just start with, how are you, in the context you're coming from, defining this term we're exploring of right relationship?
Such a great question. And the answer probably varies from person to person. But to me, right relationship is being really like mostly in harmony, right, with things around you and the people in your lives. For the people side of it, it really means, being heard, having mutual respect, really having boundaries, and being supportive of one another as human beings. And outside of that context of right relationship, to me, it's the connection with nature. It's a real harmony with the things around us that sort of hold us every day. The arms of nature hold us every day, and we just move through our lives. But it's a really important connection to make. So that also, is a descriptor of right relationship as well, with outside the context of the people side. So
It's a beautiful definition, and it's like in its wholeness, right? And I know this season we're speaking to people from many different contexts, and the wholeness of this term and what it can mean for us as humans, whatever lens we're listening to this, it includes all of the things. It doesn't leave anything out. So I want to go there with you. And for starters, one of the things that I think will be really interesting, we've talked about this, is you've been doing work around recruitment inside Equinix, but other organizations for many years. And when I think about right relationship in the context of recruitment, it feels so important for the success of the individuals that come in and the overall company. So talk to us about how you apply right relationship to recruitment.
yeah, that's a really great question, and I think it's not an uncommon one that people in recruitment or talent acquisition think about, because when you think about sort of end to end and holistically the whole process of recruitment, it starts with really setting up and building a relationship with candidates, right? So you really want to be in right relationship with your candidates and providing a really nice experience for them, regardless of the outcome. So it's transparency, it's understanding what their motivators are, and trying to really sort of answer to those in the recruitment process. Those kind of are some of the markers that I would describe as a really nice candidate experience as you build that relationship. But then there's also right relationship with your hiring managers and your stakeholders, right? It's really understanding what their needs are, being really truly strategic advisors. And that means, being in the room and being able to also provide strategic friction, not being transactional, and having hard conversations, right? Sometimes it can be a little bit crunchy. It's not exactly what they want to hear. But us as advisors, that's right relationship to me. You can bring those things to the table and talk and have those hard conversations. And then there's probably some sort of right relationship just around like enterprise and company, right? Understanding what the company vision is, being able to articulate it to the people that matter and that are working for the company. But also, just being cultural stewards and providing, strategic clarity across the company is important. That to me constitutes right relationship with the enterprise, the overall umbrella. And then, of course, the most, up there of importance is really the right relationship with team. And that's something that I feel really, really fortunate to have had come really naturally to the team that we built here at Equinix. And I'm super proud of that. It's not without our bumps and bruises, but I think that on the whole can say that as a team, we practice right relationship, whether it's structured or unstructured. So I am pretty proud of that.
Yeah. I I mean, again, that's been my experience of working with you and your team. And that's why it was really exciting when we got to December 2024 come in person, which, is a real it's a real treat these days when organizations do make that investment for the in-person time. And we appreciate too when they make the investment in the virtual time, but we know that there is a different level of energy exchange and camaraderie development and community development, team building that happens when we're in physical space together. But I just like witnessed you being such a servant leader, a leader that was really willing to set back and let her people shine, and also advocate for the different tools and technologies that you knew would serve them to achieve this vision that you've just been describing about right relationship in the context of recruitment.
I agree with you, Christy. I can't believe it's coming up on a year that we had that amazing, beautiful experience out here in California. But I agree with you. It was having it in person would just took it to a completely different level of vulnerability and just discovery with that group that deepened right relationships within the company. That I don't know. I wasn't expecting that to be a byproduct, but it was. One of the ones that I'm cited most out of that experience when people talk about it is just how deep the relationships became in that 1 week we spent together. So thank you for that time you all spent with us.
Thank you.
It's magical.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the investment that you chose to make in your recruiters and their additional colleagues from different learning and development, leadership development, other areas of the company that have participated as well. What are you seeing as the connection between developing these leaders and coaching skills and the work that you're doing?
So I think that the reason that we chose the direction that we went to with the team to with the coaching certification, and we chose coactive and this because the culture of our company is very much a relationship company. We're very for a big company, we feel like a really big family. A hammer or sledgehammer is never going to be the way that things get done here. It's always going to be a conversation. And the consideration of looking at a person whole, creative, whole, and resourceful just really, really clicked here. It just felt like the right fit for the type of culture we have here. So applying that here to the work we're doing is really about having the right conversations and having them be in the right context and the right timing. And I'll never forget, my partner always brings this, and it sticks in my head, like the right conversation at the wrong time is still the wrong conversation. And I remember that all the time because it doesn't matter what the context or the substance of the conversation is. If it's not the right timing, it's never going to land. So all of those like complexities and pieces are what make up our beautiful culture here. But navigating that, I think, can be a little tricky. And what this time has done over this last year has given us the tools to have those conversations in the right way that fits right into our culture.
I love that. So then what I'll pull from that is by investing in your people in coactive coaching and leadership modalities, skills, tools, principles, it's allowed you to be in even more right relationship with the work, with one another, with the folks that you're recruiting, and with other key stakeholders. Is that a fair summary?
I do.
Yeah.
I think that we've been much more equipped to have some of those harder conversations with, some very senior people in the company, or, help people even in less senior roles, just with transitions and hard conversations in the company. We just have the tools to help people transition into those things now. And it's been really, really helpful and impactful.
And we all know this. We're living through very intense, chaotic, wild times. And we don't have any organizational client that hasn't gone through its ups and downs, specifically over the past 5.5 years with this constant change that's happening. And what we notice is that folks that are managing other humans, they're the ones that are really needing the investment and the support, because they're asked to not only get the business results and keep the business goals and performance on track, but people are needing more human to human support because of the times we're living through. So, talk to us a little bit, and you can speak about it from your own personal experience or what you've seen with a team. Like, what does it mean to lead through these times, and how do you be in right relationship in such a complex environment?
Um, that's that's a hard question. I think I could probably just come at it from my perspective, and as a people leader, I just really just try to remain transparent and available, and also vulnerable, because I think these are really hard times, and it has required not only for us, to your point, to be have our eyes on sort of enterprise-wide goals and priorities that we support our team to achieve and accomplish, but we're also sort of vessels for listening to how this affects what the outside world is doing to affect. And like I said, we're a family here at Equinix, so we spend a lot of time together. We know a lot about each other's families. We know, so it's not like this 9 to 5 clock in, clock out thing. We're very much know about each other's lives. So it's hard to, spend 30 minutes on a one-on-one with somebody and not understand the whole person and what they're going through. Right. So that it really does take application um, and being a vessel, you're not just looking at like performance and KPIs and priorities and goals. You're looking at the whole person and understanding and meeting them where they are on their needs, really. That's how I approach it. But I tend to be like a little bit more human centric leader, and I'm a feeler. So
Yeah.
I feel what they feel.
Yeah. Well, how has that served you to lead in that way?
Um, I just think it just speaks to just the way that I live my life in a way of authenticity. And it's just not something I'm willing to change. It's just the way that I prefer to live my life. So I tend to lead that way as well. So I don't know if that answers your question as well, but
I mean,
it's,
this is what we're like UpLevel's stake around all of this is we're wanting more leaders like you, Shannon, in the world, more leaders that are more human focused and heart centered and business savvy and hold the goals and can have the tough conversations, but also see the human and acknowledge them for their strengths, but also where, they need to grow and develop and maybe they need to get onto their edges. So, it's just like, how do we replicate that? How do we clone you, Shannon?
I don't know if that's what you want. I think to your point, when we read the feedback, what happened in December, it actually blew me away. I actually go back and read it sometimes because it's just like so heartwarming for people, even just outside my team that continued on to the full journey of the year. The full group that we invited there didn't know what to expect, and they were just so fully blown away by the whole experience and just how different the approach was. I think that if more people had access to you can lead in a different way. This can be a way that you can nurture your whole entire team or organization or whole company like this, and it's okay to be that kind of leader. You can be both, and I think more exposure to and permission for people to lead that way. I would love to have more leaders that did that as well.
Yeah.
It's just people are whole and they're not robots. So
They're not robots and they're burning out because of the complexities. And so there is more need for human centered leadership. And obviously, at a systems level, for organizations to be creating programs and support networks for employees. But I think it goes beyond like having access to, say, a mental health professional or even a coach. It's about training people to be their own to know how to really resource themselves. And that's one of the things we've witnessed with your particular group is, and we see this when people make a longer term investment as you did, is the individuals strengthen, they fortify, they become They step more into honoring their core values, their leadership purpose, because there's more awareness, there's space and time to play around with it. And then they develop the capabilities, like you said, like your team had these capabilities, but now they've been like finessed.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's more capacity to support others to navigate these times. And so if ultimately what we're doing to support right relationship, it's about growing capacity. That's how I see it in this moment in time.
I like that. Yeah, that feels very hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what could you share with us about something that's been sticky or crunchy, to use your word, crunchy or difficult over the past while, and how you've navigated it to restore a right relationship?
Well, I mean, I probably will have to take that on the corporate context because it probably is a little more personally centric, I think. But I definitely over time have had to have some difficult conversations in my personal life for people that were not meeting me in right relationship. And I feel that I am pretty clear about, at this point in my life, it took me a long time. It's been a journey. But at this point in my life, I'm pretty clear about what it takes to be in right relationship with me. And I don't feel like there are like crazy parameters on this. So when I have to take stock and have difficult conversations, and sometimes I don't end up in right relationship with these people and they don't stay in my life. But sometimes I do have the conversation, the crunchy conversation, and it's like, oh gosh, I didn't even realize, I'm so sorry. And then all of a sudden you're clicked back in the right relationship. You just have to speak up, right?
Yeah.
And just hold it. Just it's a communication piece, right? I don't know that people can read your mind and know what your parameters are for right relationship, but if you're articulating them and letting them know what they are, and when they step outside of that, understand that they're outside of what you're comfortable with in that parameter, then they're at a crossroads, right? They're making a choice, and that's their self-led choice. I'm not influencing it in any way. Blueprint is there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question. I wasn't super specific, but I was just more of this is kind of how I deal when things don't feel like they're in right relationship. I kind of head it out with a conversation like, here's kind of where I'm here. This is where I land in right relationship. Can we be met? Can we meet at the same place? If not, then, maybe we go away and think about it, or maybe we go away.
Yeah. And that's great. I think it's really important. One of the things I'm learning through this season, and just as I experiment with everything that I'm learning in my own relationships, is slowing down. Like, I need to slow down to have those conversations. And sometimes at the pace I'm moving at, I'm missing information, or I'm stepping over parts about the other person or persons because I'm just in my own lane and I'm like, well, I've got it right because I'm doing this. And so one of the things I'm noticing is this, having practices that help me slow down and get more embodied and out of my busy brain. What are some of the practices you have that support you to have the crunchy conversations or to put in boundaries? I hear that you're like really practicing boundaries.
I am. It's not always been like this. It's definitely been, like I said, a journey. I realized that I needed boundaries. I didn't know what boundaries were. So like, it's definitely been a journey of like figuring out what that looks like for me. But, this definitely like tracks back to the whole piece around like, it's not just about the people part of right relationship. For me, it's also about the nature piece of it. And Mother Nature holds me in her arms every day. I'm very, very connected with her. And she helps me actually connect to that piece when I need to have the hard conversations, crunchy conversations, if you will, or if I am just stuck somewhere within that right relationship, or even outside of right relationship. Honestly, Mother Nature does a lot for me. So I think me walking in lockstep and in harmony with that nature piece actually really helps provide a lot of space for me to do a lot of things, including right relationship.
And again, that's another thread that we're learning, and I feel like that's another part of the restoring right relationship for many of us right now. Obviously some people are more connected to nature than others, but so for some folks it might be just like once a year they go on a vacation and they're in nature. And so it's like, how could you find little moments during the day, even if you live in a city and you live in a high rise, like going to a park and just sitting there and listening to the birds and looking at the trees or the gardens. Like these little things do help us to restore and be in right relationship.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Even if you can find little moments, you can find bigger ones, even better. But yeah.
Better. Yeah. Shannon, what's it been like for you being a woman of color through these specific times that we're living through? And if you can, in this context of right relationship?
Huh. Um, it's gnarly, honestly. It's pretty gnarly. It's really heartbreaking to see what's happening after, I feel like my culture has fought for a really long time to get where we were, and to see it torn down in such a short amount of time, and with, you know, not the level of resistance I would expect to something that's been worked on and built on for so long. It's been very hard. But on the other side of it, I've been very intentional about the village that I've built around myself, and that includes a whole village of right relationships. And that intention has paid off for me, because when I need protection, this is my village that protects me from this very harmful outside world that we really have now. That village is made up of all types of people, by the way. It's not just people of color. It is people of color, but there's all kinds of people that care about me and being in right relationship. That has really helped protect me and keep me. I don't know how other people are doing it without it. Hopefully everyone has built a village that in these times they know, okay, this is when we go inward and start protecting our own. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful that I've been so intentional about that village.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's just, it's so heartbreaking that these are the conversations that we're having about like it being gnarly. Like you said, it's been gnarly for people on the margins. And um, what guidance would you share for, I mean, really any human that's listening to this in this lane that we're in right now?
Community matters. I think that there's generations that it's lost on. I feel like my generation, it landed really well. The one after us, it's kind of landing. The one before me never landed. So like the sense of community that I feel like my generation really has their arms around, I think is really going to be the anchor that keeps us all like kind of here and around, right? So like that community piece is so crucial. If you don't have it, go out and find it, build it. It's there for you. You just got to be intentional, know what you want, and find the right people to build this community or village, as I call it. It's really, really what, at the end of the day, for me, is what's going to get me through, right? And that there's still hope and that there's still good in the world, because I just have to look inside the village.
We've gotten so far from the village, and again through this exploration. I don't think it's an explicit theme, but I'm definitely noticing that the way our ancestors lived, let's go back like 700 years ago, were in communities. They were on the land, and it was just a different vibration. And I'm curious to know what you could share about your own lineage that has supported you to resource yourself and to navigate these times.
That's such a great question. I'm so glad you asked me that. So my background, both of my grandfathers and one of my great grandmothers are full Cherokee Indian, like fully came from the land. Yeah. So I'm like fully like indigenous, like one generation. So I I feel the call of my ancestors all the time. Like it's not something that I've always been conscious of, but it was a feeling that I had, and once I understood what that was and put it like knew that's what it was, like I love every minute of that. I was like, it's like a warm blanket. I can't even believe I'm so fortunate to receive messages from my ancestors, but they guide me sometimes through my intuition and sometimes through other things. But that connection is they help me with my connection to Mother Nature. I think that that's where that comes from. Is really like the one with the land, and it's just become really at my core. It's just a big part of who I am. And sometimes, like I said, it's led like fully intuition, right? But I do feel the presence of the ancestors, kind of guiding me through those times, and I do feel very, very fortunate that I can feel that.
I like, no wonder I love you so much. Just like hearing your connection to your lineage and the appreciation you have for whom you've come from and where they've come from and how it continues to shape you and move you. It's just so moving. And I've said this on the season before, but I feel like that's part of where we're at. Whether it's the work context, home context, community context, is there's been a loss with our connection and relationship to our ancestors. And I would love for more people to be asked that question and share like you did. Like, here's what I know. And it doesn't mean everything we know we need to be happy about, because I know my lineage on my one side definitely did some things I'm fully not aligned with. And there's always characteristics like resilience. Like, obviously, all of our ancestors were resilient because we're here.
Right.
But there are many other qualities and traits that if we get to know them, I feel like we can lean into it during these times and then remember right relationship before, shit went off the rails,
Yeah, basically.
in the lineages and for humankind. And so let's take this idea of relationship with ancestors and apply it to the workplace. What do you see there? What's possible in that context?
I mean, what really grabbed me about what you said there is that, like, so for me, ancestors are really helping me to navigate or guiding me. And when I think about a guide, I think about sort of like an inner voice too, right? Also intuition, it can be also intuition. When you apply that to the work setting, I think you're really like, it just sparked to me, like, of course, humans are creative, resourceful, and whole. So, of course, they would be able to pull resources from or be guided by their ancestors and pull resources and apply it to in a work setting. Like, why couldn't you?
Yeah.
Why should that be just your personal life or not heard at all? Like, this is a real opportunity to have another voice and another guide for you to, like, who doesn't want more data, right?
Right. And who doesn't want more support, especially now?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's my high dream, is that this doesn't sound like out there to people, but that it sounds absolutely logical and something that I must go and investigate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people would have to already have that mindset that they have the connection, or they're at least able to resource or recess. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but be able to access. That's what I mean. Those types of messages or feelings. So
Yeah.
it's a vulnerability, right?
It is a vulnerability. It is. And I think for some, and I know for me, I avoided looking at my lineages because I knew that they had done some things that I have shame around. And by blocking them and avoiding them, I am actually blocking and avoiding parts of myself that need awareness, that need healing. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we'll keep exploring this season because I feel like there's something here, but I wanted to get curious with you around it because I knew you'd have insight. And when we think about recruitment, the context of where we started, and I think about all those people that are coming to a specific organization, and then they're coming with their lineage and they're coming with also all of their traumas and their whole humanness. Like,
Mhm.
what's the connection there to recruitment and this idea of ancestors and right relationship?
I think that fortunately, we're in I'm in a company that really kind of, I feel like, embraces and recognizes all different cultures. And we're just, it's a global company. We have so many different types of people working here. And so that kind of thing is really embraced here. So I do feel like, given the opportunity, I think that people would really under, try to get deeper and understand those ancestral sort of influences in the workplace. But I don't, they have to be given space and permission to be vulnerable, I guess, to be able to open up to that, right? To be open to it at all. So I think there's a real opportunity there because I do think if there were a little bit more of that lens in corporate America, I think that, you could have, it just leads to happier employees. Happier employers lead to, productivity. If that's where the end game is, like if you need to put it in ROI, then
Yeah.
that's where it shows up. Happy
Yeah.
people work harder and they like working at the company. So if that's where you need to take it to, but it has to start with, people feeling safe to be vulnerable, to even open up, to access that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and let's talk about the ROI for a minute because it's an important part of our conversation. And when we look at like right relationship, there are KPIs, there are objectives that every organization or system has, and that we've got humans doing the work. So, in your experience, as you've modeled and lived, and I know you said there's been ups and downs. That's like fair, but like you've modeled and lived working in right relationship, and then you're cultivating others similarly. What is the ROI for an organization or for a team when these investments are made into people?
Oh, wow. I mean, I would say that this is probably my first team that I felt fully in right relationship with. So this has been an amazing journey at Equinix. It's been an amazing experience. So I can speak what it's like to be out of that, and or what coming from being not being in right relationship into a team that feels, for the most part in right relationship. The ROI comes in ways that people feel really comfortable to fail here, to make mistakes. I feel like people can come to anyone on the team and have support on whatever they needed support on, problem solving. I made this mistake. I need this. I need, whatever their needs are. I feel like they feel safe enough that they could come and ask for anything that they need in the team. And so that safety piece is, that's a big thing nowadays. I don't think that employees are feeling necessarily safe right now. And the messages that are going around are not ones that are fostering safety for employees. So I think that it's a great time for people to lean in here and say, you are safe here on this team. And that does, without that safety, you're not in right relationship. So it is a requirement for it to be, in my eyes, in right relationship for the team. So
Yeah, and I think part of the ROI too is the retention. So, we've been on the like recruitment end of things, but when
Mhm.
people have these experiences that you described through the recruitment, what do you know based on your area of expertise? How does that lead to higher numbers of retention or deeper levels of engagement?
Um, I would say that when people feel um, safe, and it leads to just happier, being happier employees. And I still think that definitely is where it leads to people seeing the most results. If people feel unsafe and they're not happy in the work, it definitely shows up. And companies can't be successful like that. You just won't. You're not gonna be able to make it like that. So I think making people feel safe and heard, and possibly even the opportunity to be vulnerable in situations is a big deal now. And I don't think this is necessarily giving the environment that's fostering that right now. So I think it is making a real difference when companies or teams make it safe for people and make it and sort of create that environment for themselves.
It feels like absolute now. Anybody with the level of influence and power and privilege that has an organization, a company, who is a leader of a team, it's like, how do you create safety? Like, no kidding. Because people are navigating their life outside of the workplace, and obviously, unfortunately, in some cases in the workplace where they're not feeling that safety. So I'm appreciating that. What in your particular part of the business, what is the vision? What are you like hoping for unfolds after making this investment, and where you see this all going?
Um, so my bigger vision after we sort of officially deploy everything into business around this is that we will create a very like the minute that new executives enter the company, that they will immediately feel a sense of safety, because it really is that sort of cultural and operational transition that is the friction point for executives. It's not a functional, like, can you do this skill thing that's already been vetted? So it really is that cultural transition and possibly operational transition, depending on how complex the organization is, that really trips people up. So having a nice, soft place to land, somebody to talk to help them through those transitions, I think will really affect retention. It makes people want to, okay, I've got the support I need to like get through this onboarding period and get, let's like a year here is onboarding, right? So to get up to speed and start being effective, if you will. So employees feel much better once they start in a company and start making a difference, even if it's small wins. And just becoming effective is a mindset that really affects how they feel about their jobs. So I really think that really actually helps them think, okay, I can stay here long term. So from a retention perspective, it really is a positive effect on it. But more than anything, it's just having somebody to really help with that transition and give a lot more confidence in entering a new organization.
Lucky people that get that level of support from you and your team.
It's hard. I just like whatever we can do. It's not an easy job. So I just want to, I definitely want to do the most.
Yeah, it's not an easy job, and these are not. These are difficult times. And so the more support organizations can provide for, obviously not just executives, people that are coming into the system, the better. It's going to lead to retention. It's going to obviously support the engagement and then the success of the business results. You mentioned, this is from the beginning, like with your particular work, you're cultural stewards of the work. And I love that term, and that kind of brings me back to our conversation around lineage and ancestors. But like, what does it mean to be a cultural steward in the context of recruitment, retention, internal coaches, people managers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you have we have a really strong culture here, period. So, and it's something that like it was here before I got here. So it's something when I joined, it was something that I was joining actually for. I was running to a great culture, and I realized once I got here, this is something that like people fiercely protect here. Whether you're interviewing, whether you're in recruitment, whether you're in the other whatever part of the world, like this is something that people are like, we're keeping this culture, we're protecting it, right? So when I joined, I knew that it was something that needed to be a part of the recruitment process. Like people need to walk away with a sense of like what that culture looks like and feel like, hey, I want to lock arms and also be a steward of this culture, right? Because it's it's a part of us. It's a real thing. It's a living, breathing thing here for real. So that protection and being allowed to be one of those stewards in here is something that I take really, really seriously. So making sure that messaging is carried through the recruitment process and even after they join, in terms of our values, like this is how we move, this is how we work together, this is how we treat each other, this is how we show up for our customers. All of that is all within the thread of being cultural stewards and making sure that people understand what it means. It's a privilege to work at a company that cares about stuff like that. So when you join a company like that, we expect that you care about it also and that you want to be a steward of that and protect it.
Yes to that. More of that, Shannon. Shannon, what's your prayer, hope, dream, wish for humanity in this moment, in this context of right relationship?
Oh, I would love for people to just remember that we're all human. At the end of the day, like you strip everything down, it's all skeletons and tissue and bones, and it doesn't even look different from any other one else. So if we just approach the world with a sense of humanity, a sense of care, some gentleness, if possible, I just think that the world would operate a lot better. There's a lot of hard edges right now in the world, and we don't need that many. We just don't. We can operate without them. We've shown that. So I just think I need people to remember that, and that we're in the control of the future here. We can change this. We can make a difference. We've done it before. It's hard. I'm exhausted. I hear you. I'm tired. But this is our world too, and
Yeah.
we can't let a few people burn it down.
Yeah. Yes to that. And just a final question. If you're going to take a moment, maybe tune in to these ancestors that you introduced us today, these like great, great, great grandmothers, grandfathers, aunties, uncles, what would they what would they say to you right now about who you are being in the world and how you're showing up?
I've never even thought about that until you just now asked me, and I felt the question coming. So I felt my brain just go there and just start to like have this like flood of like ancestor pictures go through my head and what have you. But honestly, that feeling that I got initially, my first was that like they're proud. They're like, I'm psyched you can hear me. They probably knew this when I was a kid, but I was going to be the one that could hear the messages and feel them. They probably knew that when I was a kid, and they were probably like, I'm realizing this now, and here you are. And I can see how that could be a sense of pride for them. I would be proud. I'd
Yeah.
get psyched if I was in the transition, knew that I could be felt and heard beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a model of right relationship in so many different ways, Shannon. You are such a blessing. And I'm
Oh,
so grateful that we get to collaborate and spend time together.
thank you so much for the opportunity, Christy. I adore you. And this was such a great conversation. So thank you.
It was. All right. More to come.